On my feed at the moment, I'm getting a lot of like, don't you guys care about Nebraska? In 6 months, we're gonna be out of money. Fafo. No, we don't care about Nebraska. We care about those tiny little blue purple dots. But your MAGA asses, we don't give a shit about. Because we now know, I mean, honestly, I don't think most of us knew this but we now know that Nebraska is somewhere between 45 and 65% undocumented labor. You in Nebraska had to have known that, because you went to the polls intentionally to get those undocumented people out of your state. What with their flavor and spices and ability to sway their hips and, stamp their feet in time to the music, you were fucking offended as hell. Now, there was that, disconnect between, they do all the work and they pay the taxes, but we want them out. I don't know, I guess you guys thought there was going to be some kind of surge of white people just be like, oh, thank the Lord, we've been looking for this job for forever. Please pay me less than minimum wage. I cannot wait. Oh, right, they didn't. And before ICE could even show up to get your undocumented workers out, they up and left, taking their tax payments with them.
Have y'all seen that lady from Nebraska? Don't worry, I'm going to put it down here. She was one of the ones who came out and said, we voted for this and we regret it. She's one of the ones that's actually remorseful, not one of the ones that's coming on here going, yes, I asked for this, but please don't tell me how it's my fault that my consequences are affecting me and not just the people I hate now. I don't want to hear it, okay? Not that we don't care about them. But this one, they're cattle farmers. And I guess Nebraska is on track to go bankrupt in 2 quarters. Okay. And the most interesting part of the piece that she put up, and I'm not saying this to throw shade, I'm saying it to emphasize what's up. Okay. She says, we knew that they were going to be coming for the undocumented. And here, almost everyone's a farmer of some kind. And 70% of our workforce is immigrant labor.
Family, the biggest democratic tool you can have as a person is your right to vote. Not just the right to vote, but the ability, to discern and decide to vote for the rightful leader. That is what is happening right now in Nebraska, in America, where its citizens, are regretting very, very much for voting in Donald Trump to be the next president of the United States of America. You understand that Nebraska state fully depends on agriculture, and they also fully depend, more than 60% of their laborers, are immigrants. And during the campaign period, Trump insisted that he'll ensure that there is mass deportation as he takes over office. But this did not stop, the farmers, the citizens of the Nebraska state to vote, Donald Trump as the president. Right now, they are facing the repercussions. A lot of these immigrants, the Latinas and black folks who usually work for them in their farms, are afraid to show up in the farms because nobody would go to the farm, and wait for ICE officials to come and arrest them. Family, Nebraska state is on the verge, of bankruptcy. They'll be bankrupt in the next 6 months if everything remains constant as it is right now. But the one thing that I'm sure is that the immigrants, especially the illegal immigrants, won't be showing up for work because they are afraid to be arrested. And this is what is happening right now in Nebraska. And a lot of people are regretting their vote for Donald Trump. That's why I tell people every day that the biggest gift you can have, the biggest democratic tool you can have is voting. And not just voting, but voting for a leader, who'll ensure that all your grievances are solved. A leader who'll ensure that everything that you do economically, is also sorted. That is one thing that citizens of Nebraska forgotten. And right now, they are just paying the price, for voting in Donald Trump as the president. They are highly regretting this vote. So guys, I have compiled a series of videos for you to watch as people complain, about the situation in Nebraska. Once the series of videos are done, we will get back and do a critical analysis about the same. Let's watch this together, family.
Have y'all seen that lady from Nebraska? Don't worry, I'm going to put it down here. I'm going to put it down here. She was one of the ones who came out and said, we voted for this and we regret it. She's one of the ones that's actually remorseful, not one of the ones that's coming on here going, yes, I asked for this, but please don't tell me how it's my fault that my consequences are affecting me and not just the people I hate now. I don't want to hear it, okay? Not that we don't care about them. But this one, they're cattle farmers. And I guess Nebraska is on track to go bankrupt in like 2 quarters. Okay. And the most interesting part of the piece that she put up, and I'm not saying this to throw shade, I'm saying it to emphasize what's up. Okay. She says, we knew that they were going to be coming for the undocumented. And here, almost everyone's a farmer of some kind. And 70% of our workforce is immigrant labor. And while we knew they were going to be coming for the undocumented, and we knew 70% of our workforce was going to fall into that category, we still supported this. And now thinking about it, I'm going to say it one more time, and now thinking about it, they realize it didn't make sense to support something that went against their own interests and to put their support in something that is now feeding their own demise. And I appreciate her for coming on here and giving these updates and just saying, with each time, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Like in retrospect, I can't believe I did that. In looking back, this made no sense. This made no sense. I did it anyway, knowing it didn't make sense. I appreciate her for that. Because we've got too many that are just incapable of doing that. Just incapable of saying, wow, yeah, I convinced myself to go against my own interests. Why did I do that? Like, that is work. That's self-work. Okay. And that's what we have room for. We have room for people that are like, wow, I now want to look into why I convinced myself to do something that was not going to help me. Why did I do that? We need more of that. And less people going, yeah, well, I'm just going to hold on to my hate and rage and anger, and I'm going to blame everyone else. And you know what? Yeah, I'm going to fight to keep my job. I'm getting a lawyer. Okay, I'm fighting this. I don't care if I asked for it. This isn't fair to me. It's not supposed to affect me. What about me and me and me? We don't care about them. Like I said, they can go fend for themselves. They can go fund themselves. But yeah, it's very interesting. So these states that are already on track to go bankrupt just with the policies themselves, okay? Because she's like, people aren't showing up to work. I mean, whole thing, okay? And then blue states, these cesspool states that are providing all the federal taxes, people who live in states like Oklahoma who can't afford a plane ticket out here for the weekend love to talk about how this place is a cesspool, but they need our money to survive and to support themselves. Yeah, I am all for all of these blue states holding on to their money. I'm not interested in paying this regime. I'm interested in California independence or joining Canada or almost any other country but this one. And I would love to see how states like Nebraska plan on funding themselves when we aren't the ones putting into the pot anymore. We're going to keep our dirty little blue cesspool dollars to ourselves. How about that? Like, go ahead. Give it a watch. I give her props. And keep it rolling. Because that's an area, that's a state where the administration is trying to tell you that we're traveling out there to their town halls. Okay, she's in one of the states where they're trying to tell you that it's us that are upset at the town halls. We're traveling out to cow country and removing our dreads and our blue hair to go make red legislators look bad. That's what we're doing. They wish they lived in our heads that much.
Racism is expensive, and corporations and billionaires don't care about you. This is probably breaking news to many who support and applaud mass deportations. Well, the people in Nebraska, the state of Nebraska, is starting to find out how expensive both of those things are, how expensive racism is, and how much corporations and the billionaires don't care about the working class, minorities, poor people, black people, and other non-billionaires. Well, here we go. So I hear Nebraska is on the brink of bankruptcy, although it seems that they have found a little band-aid to put on their self-inflicted gashing wound by choosing and supporting mass deportations, which hurts their farms because it takes away the migrant workers who, instead of waiting for ICE agents to go and round them up and jam-pack them into some of those private prisons like Core Civic, and continue to enrich the billionaires while they lose while the farmers lose their workers, the migrants decided to self-deport to places where they can be and be okay, and not be in a community and communities of people who applaud and support mass deportations. So I guess those migrants were taking people's jobs. Where are those people? Come and take the jobs. They're there. The jobs are available. Why are these states, why is Nebraska potentially going bankrupt? Why are so much of America's farming country going belly up? Yeah, racism is expensive. And like they say, F around, find out. But I hope this is a lesson to everybody that is in support of and applaud mass deportations and mass incarceration. People who, in a haste to get rid of the people they do not like or to hurt people they don't like, end up hurting themselves. You know, with racism and xenophobia and all of these other things that were part of this past election. By the way, I'm not, although MAGA is super excited about these mass deportations, the corporate Democrats weren't too far away from them either. They were busy chasing MAGA to the right, especially on the issue of immigration. So I'm not gonna act like I didn't see it, or that it didn't happen, or that the Democratic Party wasn't campaigning on potentially doing harm to migrants and immigrants either. And at the end of the day, you know, there was also another choice other than the corporate Democrats or MAGA, and there was the Green Party. Most people probably did not pay attention to it, but if you look at their platform, it actually is in favor of the working class, is in favor of minorities, it's in favor of the majority of America, to where you could see their platform is not in service of the billionaires, unlike the two major parties, the duopoly. So all that to say, though, when you make choices and you make choices that hurt people, and at the same time you depend on those people, you're cutting your nose off to spite your face. And at this time, let me just ask Nebraska and everybody, because I know, I recognize everybody in America is going to be affected by farming issues. However, everybody that supports all of this bigotry, all of the mass deportations, mass incarceration, racism, racist policies, and all of that, and who are being affected now, let me just ask you to pull yourselves up by your bootstraps.
On my feed at the moment, I'm getting a lot of like, don't you guys care about Nebraska? In 6 months, we're going to be out of money. Fafo. No, we don't care about Nebraska. We care about those tiny little blue purple dots. But your MAGA asses, we don't give a shit about. Because we now know, I mean, honestly, I don't think most of us knew this but we now know that Nebraska is somewhere between 45 and 65% undocumented labor. You in Nebraska had to have known that, because you went to the polls intentionally to get those undocumented people out of your state. What with their flavor and spices and ability to sway their hips and, stamp their feet in time to the music, you were fucking offended as hell. Now, there was that, disconnect between, they do all the work and they pay the taxes, but we want them out. I don't know, I guess you guys thought there was going to be some kind of surge of white people just be like, oh, thank the Lord, we've been looking for this job for forever. Please pay me less than minimum wage. I cannot wait. Oh, right, they didn't. And before ICE could even show up to get your undocumented workers out, they up and left, taking their tax payments with them, which was part of the reason why you guys will be out of money in 6 months. All that I want to lower my taxes shit, congratulations, now they're lower. We are sad that Nebraska might go under, because we understand what you guys raise and grow. We understand what will be missing. We're sad about it, but we knew what was going to go missing when Trump was, your top pick, your only pick. Did you even have another candidate? And when we read Project 2025, we knew what was coming. You must have known what was coming. You just somehow thought there was this, surplus of skilled white laborers just lollygagging, waiting for this moment. You could have called Florida and asked them how it was going there.
I voted for Donald J. Trump in the 2024 presidential election, and I am starting to regret my vote. When I voted for Donald Trump, I was under the impression that we would be getting rid of the undesirable illegal aliens. Now I have no one to work on my farm. What am I supposed to do? Pay them a living wage? This isn't handout city. I'm not giving these people no handouts. And how am I even supposed to do that anyway? I thought the plan was to tax the poors. Okay? I thought we were going to tax the poors. I make $25,000 a year. I'm not one of them. I'm not one of them poors. But why did my taxes raise? I thought us good folks were supposed to be getting tax cuts. That was what I thought. Plus, I'm white. Why did my taxes raise, and why do I have no one to work my farm? I do not understand this, and I know that this was not what Donald Trump meant to happen. I know that he doesn't want us good Trump supporter folks suffering, but we are. Donald Trump, please reverse this. I'm a white person.
So you want to deport everyone, huh? In 2011, North Carolina needed 6,500 farm workers. Only 268 legal Americans applied, 245 were hired, but only 163 showed up to the first day. Worse, only 7 lasted till the end of the growing season. Migrant workers aren't taking your jobs, they're doing the jobs you would never do. And while they're doing that, they're paying taxes into Social Security, which they will never get back. And you want to deport them all. Have fun working on the farm.
75% of farm workers in California alone, did not show up to work today. A lot of these are undocumented workers. But there's also a percentage of them that are not showing up to their shift in solidarity. California produces and exports the largest amount of citrus fruits. Strawberries, grapefruit, oranges, lemons, limes. You have grapes, you have artichokes. I see a lot of people on this app saying, oh, I'm having trouble finding a job and there's no jobs out there. But now there's going to be plenty of jobs. What I want to know is, what did Donald Trump think was going to happen? It is not just farms. These folks are roofers. They work on our roadways. They work in construction and drywall and paving. They do a little bit of everything. Be prepared for your fruits and your vegetables to drastically increase in price. We're not even a week into this new administration, and we're all in the find out phase. Now, even though I didn't fuck around, me and all of my friends that voted blue, we're in the find out phase as well, even though we didn't want to find out. We didn't fuck around, therefore we shouldn't be finding out. I'm seeing a lot of people that live in Mexico that are saying, don't come here. Don't drink our tequila. Don't eat our tacos. Don't buy our food. Don't come to our beaches, our beautiful beaches and resorts. Who is going to be signing up to do these jobs? Because these jobs have to get done, right? Or you're going to have fields and fields of fruits and vegetables that are going to die. They're going to go bad. Then we can't bring them to the grocery stores. Who's going to do this? Who's going to sign up to do this? Because now you wanted them all to leave, and now they're leaving. So now what?
Nah, fuck that. Fuck that. Joe Biden already bailed you guys out the first fucking time because Donald Trump screwed you over his first term in office. You guys seen what the fuck he did to you, and then you voted him back in again, and you think that we're supposed to have some sympathy points, or you going on CNN crying because he's fucking your shit up again? Really? Get the fuck out of here with that shit. The farmers in motherfucking Nebraska, Wisconsin, all of these states that are being affected, and they're trying to come on social media and the news stations crying now for sympathy points because they fucked themselves over by voting for this orange little bitch. Nah, it's too late for that shit now. Suck it the fuck up and struggle for the next 4 years.
Someone please go check on Nebraska. Do you guys know what's going on over there? And if you don't know what's going on, that's why you have me, so I can explain it to you. But básicamente, Nebraska is about to go bankrupt in 6 months. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to smile. It's just a little ironic because majority of Nebraska voted for you-know-who, el pendejo, right? Majority of Nebraska is like, does anybody care about us? Like, we're about to go bankrupt in 6 months. And the reason why they're about to go bankrupt is because the majority of the workforce in Nebraska is built off, who do you think? The back to Latinos, right? That are undocumented. And they're scared to go to work. And they're not giving any money to the farmers. So their agriculture is dead. They're like, who cares? Like, can somebody come and help us?
Nebraska's biggest part of their economy at GDP is farming.
Right.
And they said 45 to 65% of the workforce is undocumented.
45 to 65%?
Yes. So
oh, shit.
with Trump rounding up illegals, what have those illegal immigrants done? They jump ship. They don't want to get raided while they're working.
No,
they don't want they don't want to get families broken up. So now so they predicted that Nebraska is 2/4 away from being bankrupt. The whole state, because there's no workers. Half of their workforce is undocumented immigrants. So now Nebraska is in a panic, is in an uproar. And most of them, farmers are Trump supporters. They got exactly what they voted for. If all these illegals were taking your jobs, why don't you go fill and do the shitty jobs they were doing for less than minimum wage? If these illegal immigrants were taking your jobs. There's all these jobs available. You can do it. To work slave hours at slave wages, you can do it. They literally bit their nose and spite their face. Like they directly voted to deport the illegals, and now the illegals, they didn't even wait for deportation. They working somewhere else. I hope they don't want any government handouts because that's socialism. They hate socialism. Hope they don't want any government handouts. Put yourselves up by your bootstraps. What's going to end up happening is these corporations are going to come buy your farm, and you going to work that farm. And you're going to be working for the corporations. They're going to buy it for pennies on a dollar, and you're going to be working your farm, and you're not going to own it no more.
Dear Nebraska farmers, I have a question for you. So, you realize that you were employing your farms with undocumented workers because there's no way that you didn't know that, right? You realize you're also breaking the law by doing so. But you then rail against those same undocumented workers that's doing the work and making you money so that they can be deported. And now you're crying and whining and trying to skin and grin to Donald Trump to stop him from deportations when you supported it overwhelmingly. It's kind of like the Venezuelans, right? When right before the election, they were like, I will vote for Donald Trump. Oh, 2 weeks later, he used us. How are y'all feeling right now?
Family, when you go to most of the social media platforms right now, you'll see a lot of FAFO. You know, people are laughing at the white farmers. People are laughing at farmers generally, you know, in Nebraska state. Because right now they are highly regretting for the vote they gave Donald Trump to be the next president of the United States of America. They are highly affected. Their farms are not doing well. The economy of this state fully depends on agriculture. And right now, everything is going down. The graph is going lower and lower. And it's simply because they voted in a leader who just told them early enough that, you know what, when I get to be the next president, I'll ensure there is mass deportations. Donald Trump told this group of farmers about the same, but they chose to vote for him. Right now they are affected very, very much because they do not have labor, you know, for their farms, and they are yet to face bankruptcy because of the same thing. They are actually heavily reliant on immigrant labor. Nebraska's farms, feedlots, dairies, and meat packing plants depend significantly on immigrant workers, many undocumented. You know, the same undocumented group of people are those that Donald Trump is targeting right now. We are seeing what is happening right now in California. A lot of demonstrations, you know, because of major ICE raids. More than 100 people are so far arrested, you know, in the ICE raids. So most of these workers are undocumented immigrants. Roughly 40% of agricultural workers nationally lack legal status, and Nebraska reflects those trends. Despite relatively wrong wages, about $18 per hour for meat trimmers, many US-born workers avoid this work. As Al Junke of the Nebraska pork producer says, even tripling pay doesn't fill the gaps. You know, the local people do not want to do these jobs. These jobs are mainly done by the immigrants, people who they fully depend on, because the local people think the pay is too low, you know. And some of the reasons as to why these immigrants are not showing up for work is fear of deportation and community anxiety. You know, heightened anxiety among immigrant families following Trump's pledges for mass deportations. Immigrant workers and their families in Nebraska are afraid, reluctant to send kids to school or engage publicly. This fear extends to those with legal or pending statuses, compounding stress throughout rural communities. You know, even those ones, you know, that have pending status, some are even legal, but they're just afraid to show up. We've seen ICE officials even arrest US citizens. Imagine your documentation is pending, you know, it's under pending status. Do you think you can go outside, you know, and go and work in the farms? It's difficult. And these are some of the reasons why these farmers are disadvantaged in the time, and people are laughing at them. Some people are saying FAFO, you know. They are finding out right now what is happening. It's been crazy. People are saying they do not understand why they voted in Trump, and yet they were fully depending, you know, on immigrants. Most especially the undocumented immigrants, you know, for them to work for them. So there is a lot of regret right now, you know, in Nebraska. Nebraska's agricultural leaders sounding the alarm. They're saying that organizations like the Nebraska Farm Bureau and the Nebraska Cattlemen warn that mass deportations could disrupt operations, hurt productivity, and ripple through the food supply chain. You know, now they're trying to talk through to the government to try and be lenient to these processes, you know, because it will hurt their productivity, ripple through the food supply chain in America. And they're also saying that right now they're in the verge of being bankrupt in the next few months. Farmers advocate for expanding guest worker visa programs. and creating legal long-term pathways for existing undocumented workers. For the first time, now they want the undocumented workers, to get some visa programs to ensure that they are in the country legally. A lack of labor forces farmers to pay more to attract workers, automate or scale back production, resulting in higher food prices and reduced output. The food prices would go high when these farmers have to spend a lot of money to pay laborers. Family, let me know in the comment section down below what you think about the situation right now in Nebraska. Personally, I think that the farmers there actually deserve, because according to the records, it's written and people are seeing that Nebraskans came out in large numbers to vote in Trump as the president. They knew that there would be mass deportations, but they chose to choose Donald Trump to be their president. Family, let me know in the comment section down below what you think about the adverse effects, of the mass deportations happening right now in the US. Kindly like this video so that it can be recommended to other YouTube users, and I'll be very, very grateful. Thank you guys, and see you all in our next episode. And before we leave, kindly do consider subscribing to the channel. We are currently on the road to 50,000 subscribers. Thank you, and see you all in our next episode. Goodbye.